Well, hello and welcome to today's show. Have you ever wanted to retrofit a toilet room, bathtub, or shower with grab bars? Well, the last two we won't get to, but I do have an example of that in my own home that we'll look at right after we roll title. Now that that's done, one of the things I started looking at is how do I mount it? Because that's a big worry of mine. When I built the house, I did not put blocking in behind the sheetrock before we built the finished walls out. So I didn't have it, and I'm not real trusting of most hollow wall anchor systems. I've seen a lot of them pull through the wall. Now, I looked at a brand that I used in the past. They make pretty nice fixtures, a range of fixtures, the Moen brand for the residential market, and they do have a very special mount to go with their grab bars, and they have some nice designer looks that we can look at. Very nice, but they get pricey in a hurry. And since this is the first place I was going to try putting some grab bars, I thought I'd put it in the laundry room since that's a recent project that I have. I had already had a water closet. I just didn't have the grab bar. Again, not having blocking in the walls. I was hesitant about using hollow wall sets. Moen has a well-tested system. I like that. The bars just get a little bit more pricey even on the budget models. Looking around, the search engine quickly gave me Amazon. Surprise, Amazon showed up in there, and they had some pretty good reviews, but there were also a number of complaints that the trim ring, if you ever snapped it on when you were done, you couldn't really get it off without damaging the walls, and I didn't like that. What if you have to paint or want to just do a color change or refresh? I didn't like that. So I found a company called grabbars.com. Never done business with them, but I talked to them, and they had a product, and their trim rings twisted on, and we'll look at those in just a second. The series is actually mounting those, and they shouldn't take terribly long. However, how do they mount them? They come with hollow wall anchors that are very unremarkable, just like so many. I don't know what weight range each will hold, so I did a little bit more research and I found these type of products right here. This is actually the real McCoy, the snap toggle. It works. I didn't have any trouble with any of the threads. It is a little bit more expensive than some of the counterparts, some of the international counterparts. This one worked well. The only complaint I have is that the head on this, the retainer, here's a picture, it's too big to go under the flange of the grab bar without showing on the other side. So I had to take a belt sander and clean a couple of these ears off, just one side, so that they wouldn't show. In fact, I've got one that I didn't succeed in getting it trimmed up enough, and I'll point that, I'll draw a little circle around it and see if you then see that thereafter. But other than that, it went pretty well. There's some tips and tricks that I use when drilling through sheetrock and finding things and trying to avoid water. You know, have you ever feared drilling into a water pipe, how expensive that could be, or hitting a wire? That also could get very expensive. So I just want to show you what I did. If you want to, hang around, let's watch this. Let's roll that first video segment.
Anyway, what we've got on tap today is I'm going to put a grab bar in, actually two, in the laundry room since I've been redoing it. I had my knees done, I think I mentioned that a number of times, a couple of years ago, 2018, and it would have been good to have it then, but I had already put a ADA height toilet in, water closet, but I didn't put grab bars in because I didn't put blocking in the walls when I built the house. So I looked online and processed that. I found this company here, grabbars.com, and they were fairly well rated as far as I could tell. And I called the people and persons answered, and they were helpful that way. And I looked at the way they do these flanges, because Amazon also popped up. As you know, they're going to pop up in anything you're looking for. And they did not review very well. One of the complaints were how the cover, believe it or not, goes over and covers the fasteners. And the complaint that they had was that they were snap-on, that they snapped on pretty good, but a lot of people had trouble getting them to come off. They are the more, what some people might call the industrial looking or commercial looking grab bar. This happens to be a simple one. I started to get shot peened. I prefer the textured ones, especially around like a shower or something like that where you have a lot of water. But because this is the laundry room and it's off of the garage where the emergency potty is anytime you're out working or whatever and you have to rush, it tends to be a little bit more dirty bathroom simply because it's right off the garage and sometimes hands aren't as clean as you think. So I thought that the smooth finish would be good for it. And again, there's no shower involved, so I don't have to worry about losing my grip. I was looking at anchors, and in so doing, I looked and it seemed like people were highly recommending the Snap Toggle brand, which is just one brand. And I decided to go actually with the Snap Toggle. I don't know if you can see, but the threads from the pictures on Amazon actually look really good and clean. And some of the cheaper imitators or alternatives, I guess I should say, they looked a little rougher from the photograph. Now, I don't know if that's really a valid thing to look at, but I'd had several reviews in there that I read that said, well, they didn't thread well, and they didn't go well, and some of them they had to break off because they couldn't get the bolt started. Now this happens to be 1/4 inch. These are, I think, are BBs. They're done by a size, and the people at Grab Bars, when I asked them what size of toggles that they used, that they sold, they wouldn't tell me. Now, either they were being evasive or they genuinely didn't know. And I thought, if you're selling them, you should know what size they are, unless you would really prefer I didn't buy them. Now, the guy who owned the company was asking, said, yeah, they will fit through there. Now, that fits through that one, and this one will fit through that hole. 1/4 will not fit through that one. I'm going to have to drill that out. And that's not a big problem because I do have a drill and drill motor, but they're awfully tight. And unfortunately, when you drill through sheetrock, it's not really a precision hole, okay? It's not really a precision hole. And I debated about buying these or 3/16 size, which is a little smaller. And then the official document here, if I can get up here without the gloss getting here, see the 1/2 inch drywall, it says that 3/16, which I'd be using from now on, is good for 238 pounds and 265 pounds for the 1/4 20s, using a 1/2 inch hole. And they use the same size hole. So I looked at it and said, well, if the plate will take them, will accept them, and I still have to drill the same size 1/2 inch hole either which way, maybe I should go ahead and go for the higher strength 1/4 20s. And we'll find out here in just a little bit. And I know this is a little bit long of a video on the cell phone, but I just want to take you through a thought process because my thought processes may be revised after I try to put this bar on.
Well, here's a little tip. If you're going to mount anything, a grab bar, a towel bar, anything of this nature, have you ever checked your level to see how accurate your level is? Well, that's what this little piece is about.
Now I'm going to check my level because levels are not actually perfect. And that looks pretty good. It looks like I'm a little bit high on the right here. Let me get my finger in the way. Right here. So it looks like it's just a little bit high there on the right. Pretty close. See, it's just touching and it's not quite touching. Let me spin this around. This is how I check a level. Same place, same surface. And I go back and I look at it. And see now, over here on this side, I'm actually fully touching the bubble and off of the bubble. So I'm just a cat's hair high here. And I'm going to take a little marker and put high right there, an H for high. And then I'm going to try to duplicate that because it's pretty close to middle. And dealing with sheetrock, it'll be good enough, I'm sure.
Now you can install yours any way that you want. I'm just showing you what I did on mine. In mine, the first thing I did was locate the back location for the grab bar because that's not going to be seen as easily, and that's the way I want to use that very first hole that's along the center line on this particular grab bar. I put one hollow wall anchor in so that I could kind of get it started, raise up that grab bar using that level, and getting it into position, mark the front 3 holes on the front flange. The second one is I show you how I try to keep the drill bit from walking because gypboard is not a stable media, dimensionally stable. As you drill into the bit wants to go, and these are very precise holes. Unfortunately, because I have 1/4 inch toggles versus the 3/16 toggle, there's no room. In fact, I had to open up the flange. Let's look at that video as well while we're here. Now here we're on the edge, and since I'm backing off of the wall, says a maximum of 12 inches. I found my center line, what it should be here, then came off of this an 1.5 inches. That ought to put it a little bit that way. And I was concerned that these would be a little bit big. So I took a little bit of a little 1/2 inch belt sander, kind of rounded it off. Going to need a little bit more on this because it just does want to cover right there. Just got a little bit extra. I might take a knife to that. I put slide a little piece of saw blade or something behind that, and then cut that off a little bit more, but that should be good to go. And on the other side, I won't put the piece of tape. I use the level to find the position for these holes, and hopefully I'll be dead nuts on. If you like this content, please go to calldelltosell.com, find the tab that says on YouTube, click it, and it'll open up a page of QR codes. There you can use a smartphone to scan and get to the YouTube page, or you can just mouse over and click it on a PC. There you'll be able to subscribe to this little button over here and click the notification bell so that YouTube will notify you. Thank you. Now I centered punch with that awl, which is just a fancy word for a little short ice pick, to try to make sure I got dead nuts in the center of those holes because there's no play, because I have
1/4 inch snap toggles versus maybe 3/16, which should fit with a little bit of play.
The next video clip is actually a tip on drilling your holes. I see complaints online for the various toggle type devices, whether they be international versions or the original. And they complain about certain things, about not wanting to get started and breaking off and hard to work with. And I think a lot of that has to do with how the hole was drilled in their sheetrock. I have a tip for that. But before we get to that tip, let's look at this tip, which is a tip for the tip. All right, if in the previous example you see me getting a very precise center on the holes for the mounting, through the mounting flange on the wall, we're going to try to drill those with a 1/4 inch. But how do we get from the 1/4 inch to the 1/2 inch? Because a lot of times the drill bit will chatter and bounce around as you're trying to drill that big of a hole from a 1/4 inch. Well, here's a solution. This is a step drill. Okay, I don't know if I can get a good picture of it. Anyway, the long and short of that is it has various diameters. So you can start with your 1/4 without losing center and slowly open it up to that 1/2 inch that you need and not really lose center that far. Because again, sheetrock is not a precise media to be drilling through. And that's why perhaps that 3/16 is a better choice versus the 1/4 inch to go through this flange that I used. So let's look at those video clips.
Now I've got the one in here, which should be on center, hopefully. And these two I drilled as carefully as I possibly could. And I like to take the end of a screwdriver or something soft and push those little pieces back in. And I would like to say it's my advice to you, if you're going to do something like this and drill through sheetrock, when you're drilling through, push very, very, very slowly on the drill on low RPM so that you don't pop right at the back and break the back side of the sheetrock off. Now I've got the bar up on both ends, and they did fit the holes that I drilled in there and set the snap toggles in. I did open up, I need to tell you this, I did open up these holes to 17/64 so that the bolt could go through there. Actually, it's not a bolt, this is a screw. So that the screw would go through there. Now I can't hold the thing and put it in there directly, but we have to see how the other 4 holes now line up. And we'll be back to you in a film edit.
Well, we're almost got the first bar in, the horizontal bar in. So now we've got the 2 screws, one on each end, holding up in itself, carrying its own weight. Now we have to add the other 4 screws, and we want to turn those trim rings in. See if you can see why I end up sanding off some of the retainer, some of that clip on the toggle bolt, because if you don't get them trimmed down enough, they will show.
I do want to show you this, that they do spin freely using that slightly larger drill bit. I'm looking through the camera lens, so through the monitor rather. But yeah, they fit, and I got all 6 of them in, and I'll just tighten them up, put the trim rings on. So let's see if I can do this left-handed. Anyway, see that little divot right there? It should go right down below that and twist on. That works pretty good. That's worth going with this brand, grabbar.com brand. Let me spin that one around where I can see what it is. Oh, I do need to clean that little bit of pencil mark off before I put them down. But anyway, we'll go back in just a second. But yep, that went in pretty good.
Hello, I'm Dell Delbridge of Benchmark Realty, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. If you are currently unrepresented and would like to know how to compare up to 3 properties side by side and room by room, then go over to my new YouTube channel, Call Dell to Sell. That's 1 L and Dell, no spaces. Watch the demo on Real Scout, and then call me and we'll set up your exclusive ad-free account today. Now, normally when a video goes this long, we don't think we need to show you a vertical mounted grab bar because it's just a horizontal grab bar that's mounted plumb. But we did run into something that's worth discussing here, and we'll show you that right now. Okay, got a wrinkle in the plan. On this side, I know I had a stud because that's the side that box is mounted to. And that switch is mounted to a stud on this side as well. There's another one that lays right there, just about where I was going to put that bar. I'm actually going to have to move it back this way a little bit to do it so that I can catch the outside hole in the stud, and I'll use the hollow wall anchor. See, it'd be solid, be into the stud here, and then a hollow wall anchor will be the bottom one, and then over here on this side, same thing up above, a hollow wall, and then I'll screw into the stud along that vertical line right there. Mr. Stud Finder thinks that there is a stud there, and if I take it over, I should hit that vertical line right in the center of the stud, right about there. So we're gonna put a hole in the bottom, get it started, and then we'll use the vertical level to make sure we get all the other holes. We'll mark them and drill them out, go from there.
Let me show you something here before we go in. Now I have this receptacle on this side, and I know there's a stud here from Mr. Stud Finder. So this box is nailed on that side of that stud, and I have the switch also, it's nailed onto that side of that stud. There's a stud in between we're going to try to catch. Now here's this power, and I want to make sure I'm not running the fan off of this device. No, I'm not. Good deal. Because usually these will feed more than one bathroom. And let me go ahead and turn that off so it doesn't mess up the with the stud finder. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure I don't have any wire running between them right around this area and right around that area. Because I have a stud. I found a stud. See, it thinks there's something, a little something somewhere in this neighborhood. And that may be to fire a different receptacle somewhere else in the room. But it goes away by the time I hit this stud. And I need to make sure I don't have anything on that side. It thinks it's giving me a little flashy, so there's something somewhere in there. Gets a little closer. There may actually be a wire attached to that stud right in there. If I go down, I don't find anything. I'm beginning to blink. Blink, blinky, blinky, blinky. It thinks there might be something in there somewhere. And it starts. So there may be a wire right where I need to put that screw. Well, let's wrap up the grab bars. Okay, now we've got them on the wall. We've got them both mounted. I think they look just fine. Some people may not like the standard ADA style bars, but they don't really bother me that much. Now the question is, would I recommend grabbars.com's grab bars? And I would say actually yes. One of the complaints on like Amazon Basics were that you couldn't get the little ring on and off, and these they just twist on and off like that. You see, easy to get off if you need to. Now we may not need to, but if you ever want to take the bar off to paint the wall so that you don't have to do it, that's a big plus. I am a little bit disappointed in they couldn't tell me what size 3/16 or a quarter to use on those snap toggles, and the holes may be in spec at a 1/4 of an inch, but they really were not flowing through the hole without a lot of wiggling and jiggling and that sort of thing. So I did end up opening them up a little bit, but that's not a step for a stepper. Overall, I think they are superior to like Amazon Basics. They do use the hollow wall anchors. They supply you the hollow wall anchors when you buy the grab bar, but I don't like them as much as I do the snap toggles. They're rated higher, about as high of a hollow wall anchor as I've seen. So I use those. Now, I spoke earlier that I chose to get kind of the traditional industrial look. Some people don't like the looks of those. They don't like the style. Makes them feel like they might be old people's. But when I had my knees done, I wished I had known about this at the time, because I had already placed a tall water closet in just for general purposes, and it works fine. I just didn't have anything to grab to when I had both knees down at the same time, both of them didn't operate on. So now I have the house prepared. So yes, I get a complete thumbs up to the grabbar.com product, and I think for the cost, you can't beat them. They do mount, and brother, they are on here tight using those mounts. Now this one happens to be screwed one screw into that stud and then 2 hollow wall anchors, and the horizontal bar has 3 hollow wall anchors apiece. Matches okay the Moen, and overall for a bathroom right off of the garage, one that might get dirty, I like the smooth finish. Perhaps the peen would have looked a little bit better. You know, that's that texture stuff, but it's not a shower bar. It's not a wet-handed bar. So I thought it would, you know, can't beat them for the price. I think they're $50, give or take, for both of them. Just can't beat it. It's better than falling down. Because I tell you, the older you get, the slower the old body heals.